swear whenever we're about to go on, if there's any technical difficulties, like that's when they pop up.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's probably why some people get on the show like days beforehand.
15, 20 minutes earlier, yeah, and they kind of work the kinks out, and yeah, that's usually what you're supposed to do. I can't attest to that. I usually just jump on about 10 minutes prior after taking care of some things out there, so yeah.
Sometimes I feel like you're just sitting in there on the bathroom until it's time to come on air.
No. No, I actually have not done that yet. I was eating dinner, then I got finished watching I think you and I have talked about this. There's a show called Your Honor on Netflix. Sydney put me onto it. I just finished watching season 1, the episode 10 of season 1. So I'll probably start season 2 later tonight. But I got hooked on it. I think it's pretty good. So
okay. I've actually heard it from other people. So I'll trust the other people and I'll watch it. When you told me to watch it, I was like, but
Sydney had already watched all the episodes, and then she had told me several times, she was like, you need to watch Your Honor. You really, really like it. And I'm the type of person, when I watch one, I get hooked easily. So I was like, I don't want to get hooked onto something new. But House of Dragons just ended. So I have time. I opened up some time. I started season 1, knocked that one out. I actually started season 1 a couple days ago prior to House of Dragons ending. So anyway, yeah.
Why do you find a way to work House of Dragons into like every conversation?
Listen, man, I was a huge Game of Thrones fan. I tried to get you on the House of Dragons. I know you watch Game of Thrones. You watched maybe half an episode of House of Dragons when you were here. It's pretty good. Season 2 just ended. It is going in the right direction. So, yeah, things are going to start to heat up there. So,
okay, all right. Let's say hello. I always start us a new season, and my husband leaves me behind. Yeah, that's you get in trouble in my house for that. So,
yeah.
But she did give us a Roll Tide to start and a Roll Tide from Lady Alpha. Good evening to you both.
Good evening, Kat. Good evening, Lady Alpha.
And I don't know what Randy was saying. I guess you're just saying go to his YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so.
The house doesn't clean itself.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mike's talking about House of Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, or
I didn't know if he was talking about House of Dragon or Game of Thrones, but I have a feeling he's getting ready to respond since we just said this. And before we go on, I want to give a special shout out to Kat Poole and Lady Alpha, 2 of the bodacious babes that we've got on this podcast. We really appreciate y'all's support.
So anyway, since we're giving special shout outs, I'd like to give a shout out to Mike, who is basically taking over for all. I say taking over, there was nobody doing it before. So Mike stepped up and he's doing a lot of our graphics and stuff like that. So I really appreciate him doing that.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate
some stuff we can't mention, but our My Life for Certain has gotten a little more interesting off the camera. So my time has been cut in half lately. So it's been an interesting time. All right, Raj, we said that we're going to just jump around today and kind of cover a bunch of stuff. So we are going to start. First off, thank you to everyone who jumped on for our summer series where we kind of took a look at different teams and what they had to offer. And that was good. That was a lot of fun. So it definitely helped me look forward to the season.
Kudos to Herb. Before we continue, kudos to Herb. The summer series was Herb's idea. He pitched it to. He didn't pitch it to me. He told me about it. We just both thought it was a good idea, especially due to timing, and we knew that there might be a little bit of dead time here and there between seasons. So he pitched the idea. It was hugely successful, especially the Oregon. Having Spencer on for Oregon, that was still our most watched YouTube video to date. But kudos to Herb. Appreciate you, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a way to keep our focus on college football without just kind of going over the tide. We've kind of checked out a lot of guys, Bama Standard, Way Offsides, who cover the tide and cover it, honestly, better than us at the time. We want to kind of take a look other places. So that was fun. Right. But Raj, before we kind of get into August is usually for us a preview month. We'll try and we don't know how in depth we're going to go into the other conferences, but at least for the SEC, you're going to have a game-by-game breakdown, pick-wise for all the teams. Now, we say all the teams. We got like 16 now. We might pick like the top 4, go through their schedules, and just give you record predictions for the other ones, something like that. Right. But we do want to at least take a look around the SEC, and we might take the other conferences. We'll see. kind of surely running low on time, and so we're going to have to figure out how to put it all in. Yes, thank you, Kat. She was there for the whole summer season. Maybe I need a drink of water. I'm gonna give you the question. I'm gonna get a drink of water so I can refresh here. Raj, what is your confidence level currently? What is the state of the Tide for you right now? What's your confidence level with them going into the season?
I'm much more confident than I was on January 11th, January 12th, around that period when Saban retired. I didn't know what to expect back then because I didn't know. We didn't know who our head coach was going to be, and then the domino effect after that, as far as our coaching staff.
Back then, you didn't want them, but now we're hot and you're all on them.
Exactly, Herb. Exactly. But if you ask me that question today, I mean, I'm extremely confident going into the season. I think the preseason poll came out where we're ranked number 5. I'm absolutely perfectly fine with that. Last time we were ranked number 5 was 2009. We know what happened that year. With that being said, do I think we're going to have an undefeated season in DeBoer's first season? Just being absolutely realistic here, no. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think we are playoff bound this year. I do think that's well within our reach, and anything could happen after that. But as far as the confidence level, 10 being like the most confident person ever, I'm around an 8. Still want to see
this
some
might
more.
Be the most bumfuzzling thing I've ever read, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's what we refer to as rat poison. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, Randy. I have a feeling Randy's getting ready to chime in to say why he made that comment, but we don't believe you. We don't believe you. But to answer your question, Herb, I'm at an 8. I'm at an 8 right now. I feel good about the team. Feel good about the direction. Really, really, really excited to see the offense. I don't give it a 10 yet because I'm still curious to see what our defense is going to do. Right. And, of course, we won't be able to see that until the season starts. So I'm at an 8. Where are you at right now?
I think an 8 is a good number.
Okay.
Confident. And so this is what – it seems like I've had this conversation a lot recently too, including Monday morning, I think, on Mr. Yu's show, that Monday thing.
Yep.
Which Raj wants royalties for having renamed it. So why – he asked the question on his show, are you disappointed if Alabama doesn't win the championship this year? And he might have phrased it a little different. I'll have to look it up, but that's it. And I said, I think we'll be in the mix. I like the talent that we have coming back. I think the most popular number you see is 10-2. You know, I could live with that number making the playoffs. Would I be disappointed if we don't win? That's not exactly how I phrased it. I think that's how I took it. So I don't put words. I'm not putting words in Mr. Yu's mouth, but of course I would be disappointed. And I think if you're a top 12 team, you know, because that's the playoffs, you know, top 10 team, right, going in season. If you do not win a championship, I think you will be disappointed. But it's not – I won't be disappointed in the coaches. I won't be disappointed in the team. I'll just be disappointed, period. I think Georgia would say the same thing. Ohio State would say – can you look back on your season and appreciate your season? Let's say 10-2, we win a couple rounds in the playoffs, get knocked out somewhere. Will we be disappointed season? Of course. But we'll be appreciative and happy with the season at the same time, of course.
Exactly.
So I think that's
the best way to – That's the best way to put it. I'm disappointed pretty much every year we don't win a national championship, but I've learned how to kind of level my expectations, especially the Cat just was right on time with that one. I've learned how to level my expectations. So going into the season, especially this one right here, I have my mind and my mentality set a certain way. So I'm not expecting us to win all our games, especially with the schedule that we have this year. We might drop 1 or 2 here or there. The possibility of 3. I would not be surprised if we end up 9-3, but I do think as long as we can make it into that playoff somewhere, the 12-team playoff, and have a good run there, then that'll set us up for years to come. So that'll be a successful first year under DeBoer, making the playoff.
I am optimistic. I don't know about how confident. Ohio State, I feel like should be as well. I could see that. We'll probably go into it more when we talk about our Big Ten, but we'll see how this is. But I if I'm a Georgia fan, I feel great about the season.
Yeah.
You know, they have a tough schedule, and we'll get into that more later. But I would feel great. Consensus SEC pick to win number 1. I think I looked at the what was it, the SEC rankings, and they had like 157 first place votes or something like that. Everybody else was low. So let me ask you about this question then, Raj. Do you kind of see it playing out the way everybody sees it playing out? Georgia versus Texas for the SEC championship, and Alabama anywhere. I've seen us anywhere from 3rd to 5th, I guess, in the league.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Georgia versus Texas. And I know we're going to take a look at each, some schedules later on, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was to happen. With the way that the playoff is set up too. I mean, you don't have to win the SEC to make it to the playoff anyway. I would love to be. I think we have a good chance to make it to the game if we can kind of win some of these games that people are predicting that we might lose. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was to happen.
Yeah,
not at all. I could see Alabama, Texas, or Georgia possibly winning the SEC this year.
I agree with that, Kat. And you're Ohio State fan, cautiously optimistic. Yeah. I mean, they've put together one of the most talented rosters Ohio State has.
Yeah.
So, and I think the pressure is on.
And again, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go.
No, I was just saying. Then even Trey Day, when he was on here, he was like, "This is a make or break season for Day," and I agree with that wholeheartedly. So.
Yep. The only question I have for Ohio State is the same thing that I've been kind of spitting out the past few weeks. Is just I'm not sure if Will Howard is going to be the guy they need him to be. But obviously they have Quinshon Judkins, so they'll have a pretty good run game this year. We know who's on the defensive side of the ball. There's some names that we're not going to name anymore. But I just don't know if Will Howard is going to be that number one starting quarterback and how good he's going to be. I saw glimpses of him last year at Ohio State. And at Kansas State. I'm sorry, at Kansas State, and he wasn't spectacular.
Right.
So I don't know. That's my only question for Ohio State is their quarterback position.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And with that being said, I got one more note. Speaking of the quarterback position, I think our season is going to be highly dependent on how much DeBoer can squeeze out of Jalen Milroe, and if he can kind of get him to raise his game to the quarterback that we know he can be. If he kind of mimics the way he played last year, we might have another rough 3 or 4 games here, to be honest with you. But if he can kind of get him to, hey, we know you can run. Rely on your running backs, though, and move the ball up the field. Get those short to intermediate passes, and then use your long ball when necessary. If he can kind of do that, he could have a 3,500 to 4,000 yard passing season. We've got the weapons; they're all there.
Right.
And we've got the receiving core, we got the tight ends, we've got running back, we have the offense that we need to kind of win a national championship. So it's going to be up to Jalen Milroe to kind of lead the offense this year.
Confidence level then in Jalen Milroe at first, and then the quarterback room as a whole second.
As far as just how good they're going to do? Or
like if you're ranking them 1 to 10, how good do you feel about going into the season? Milroe first, and then the quarterback room overall second.
Milroe, I'm at like I don't know how much criticism I'm going to receive for saying this, but I'm at like a 7. I'm at a 7 for Milroe. Yeah, listen, let me explain.
Raj,
I was critical of Milroe last year.
That's a very bumfuzzling answer.
I'm going to be critical of Milroe this year until he shows me that he could throw that short to intermediate pass and help us move the ball down the field. That's it. I need to see that in the first couple games. Luckily, before we played Georgia, we had Western Kentucky, South Florida, and Wisconsin. So those are going to be 3 games when he needs to go ahead and expose those skills.
I assume this is about Ohio State, not everywhere else.
Yeah, I guess. As far as our quarterback room as a whole, I'm at more of like an 8. I mean, if something was to happen to Milroe, I like Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson can get the job done. So Launer can get the job done. Austin, don't ask me about Austin Mack. I haven't seen enough of him. I'm just going to leave him to the side. He's a nice. I'm pretty sure he's a nice young man, and he's got a lot of potential.
He holds a nice clipboard for right now.
He holds a nice clipboard.
His future will be fine. For right now, he holds a nice clipboard.
He will be fine. He will be fine.
Wait. So when Mike edits this and he puts something out tomorrow, it's going to say that you gave Milroe a 7 and all the other quarterbacks an 8. Meaning,
I thought when you asked about the quarterback,
I know, but that's not how I'm going to edit it. We're gonna create a firestorm. So
hey, edit it however you want to. I gave my answer, and I'm not holding anything back.
Yeah. Now, I answered based on because I feel like Mac clearly wasn't seriously wasn't in the mix, especially after we saw a heyday game. And I'm not worried about him until next year, but it'd be interesting to see. It's like, I want to know. So who's your source?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
I'm not sure. Randy, let us know who said that. I'm not worried about the Wisconsin game, to be honest. Even though it is our first road game of the season, I just don't see their offense matching up with our offense, and especially defense too. So I'm not worried about Wisconsin personally.
Yep. Brian is counting down the days. He said he's going to treat us good before and after the game, but during the Oklahoma game, he said it's on. So we'll eat good before.
Brian, thank you for joining us, and we are looking forward to that weekend.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just at 8 for both numbers, Raj, to be honest. Okay. I've said it a million times. So he said it was a national voice. Yeah. I think people just so let's be honest, right? Alabama will be favored at Wisconsin, right? If I come out and I say Alabama's going to beat Wisconsin and they beat Wisconsin, we're like, well, that's fine. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But if I come out and say Wisconsin's supposed to win and Wisconsin wins, that looks like a genius. If they lose, then it's just like, okay, what happened was supposed to happen. So it doesn't really matter. Having said that, predicting like the third game of the season, and that's what makes the game-by-game prediction so tough. Predicting what's going to happen in the third game of the season is tough because you honestly want to see what happens in the first two, So it's like either some random injury, maybe somebody steps up you weren't expecting, Like look at the USC game, our starting quarterback, and I only mentioned that because we had a USC guy on last week, but like Jalen Hurts wasn't on anybody's radar then. So
right.
That's different things. Different things can happen in those. So I forget what I was pulling up, but I guess I'm at an 8 for both. But I don't want to feel like Milroe has a short leash, but I know Ty Simpson is like chomping at the bit. And there's still a lot of people that think Lonergan is also could be the guy too.
And I'm one of those. I feel like Lonergan could be the guy too if necessary and when called. But yeah, you're right. I think Milroe is kind of on a short lead. This is like his year. Like if he has a good, successful year, obviously he's going to go to the draft. But I don't know. I just got to see him be able to meet his potential. And I didn't see it last year, but hopefully DeBoer can groom him a little more and get him to where he needs to be.
So Brian, who are our losses to? And if you say Oklahoma, we're throwing out your whole list. Just a quick, and this is only one predicted thing. Wisconsin is predicted at 7th in the Big Ten. That's 24/7 Sports, so that's obviously this is not me taking a big poll or anything like that.
Right.
Losing to Alabama, USC, Penn State, and Oregon. Oh, definitely respectable losses. So take that with like a huge bucket of salt, not just a grain.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I haven't looked at Wisconsin enough to really know. Really concentrate more on the SEC and our records.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say something.
No, I was about to say, is the USC Wisconsin game, if Wisconsin, is that a respectable loss?
Is the which one now?
USC Wisconsin. You said that would be like you mentioned the teams that could beat Wisconsin.
Yeah, if Wisconsin loses to USC, that's a respectable loss just because the stature USC holds. Maybe not what they're bringing on the field, but so he says Georgia, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, but getting by LSU. So maybe he is. So this is an interesting one because one of the same 24/7 Sports, when they were predicting who's going to win the conference, they had Texas winning the conference with one loss. Do you want to guess who their one loss was to for Texas?
Georgia?
Texas A&M.
Is that game well, I'm assuming that's in A&M in College Station.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but they had, and to I'm bringing this up because of Brian's, and this was the one that bumfuzzled me the most, was they had Tennessee second place in the conference and tied with like 5. It was a 5-way tie for second, and Tennessee won because of the tiebreakers. So, yeah,
I think Tennessee is writing off. A lot of people for Tennessee are writing off the hype of Nico. Right. I don't know how good he's going to be. I didn't watch him in the bowl game when they played Iowa, and I didn't think that was anything worth watching.
Did anybody want to watch Iowa do anything?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what Tennessee's riding on this year. So he's, apparently he's supposed to be the next big thing for them, and only time will tell. But I think we're going to beat Tennessee.
How bad would it be if Texas won the conference their first year in?
That would be interesting. There would be a lot of gloating going on from Texas people. Then they would start probably talking about this whole horns down situation. You've got to respect this and all that blah blah. We never said we didn't respect y'all. We never said we didn't respect Oklahoma. Just chill out, calm down. You just got into the conference. We've been here for a long time.
Yeah, that's what I think, Kat. They would be. All right, Brian. So who does Texas lose to? And then what's Oklahoma's record? Because if all this is leading to Oklahoma winning the conference on the first year, then I'm really throwing your list out.
Oklahoma's not winning the conference in the first year.
Yeah. But that's where the seed. I feel like that's where this is headed. So
yeah,
I think it'd be awful if Texas ended up winning the first year. So that's one of the things I will be rooting against for sure. So, I guess this is one of those, Rod. You can take your first look at Alabama. Oh no, that's a 2020.
I was about to say.
Gonna have to.
I was about to say we're not playing Middle Tennessee.
Well, I'll have to call up the other one now. This is going to be time consuming. What outside of the Georgia game? That's obviously your number one. What is like your number 2, 3, 4? Like which games really kind of are you worried about first? So Michigan, really? And by the way, that's a good segue into our next segment with Michigan, though. But Michigan, Oklahoma, Georgia for Texas losses.
And we'll get more into Michigan.
He's got to be picking Oklahoma to win the conference at this point.
I don't think that's – Oklahoma's not winning the conference. So your question was which games kind of like what make me nervous, I guess, as far as Alabama's schedule?
Yes. Yep. What's your next up?
Number one, obviously, we host Georgia, and I think that's going to be a really, really good game to kind of gauge where Alabama stands with DeBoer at the point. The first 3 games will kind of get us some warm-up games to kind of get our offense and defense moving in the right direction. The Georgia game is definitely a winnable game. Excuse me. I think the line right now is Georgia by 4 or 5, something to that effect. But that's going to be the first one right off the bat where I can kind of scratch my head and say, if Georgia wins this game, I would not be surprised. After that, I would say LSU. I know we play at Tennessee prior, but Raj, I'm not.
By the way, OU, losses to Ole Miss and LSU.
I think our defense is going to be better than Tennessee's defense, so I think that's going to give us the upper hand there. At Baton Rouge, at Death Valley at night, that kind of makes me nervous because those games can kind of go either way. I still think offensively we have the better quarterback. Defense, LSU should have a good defense this year, so we'll see about that.
Agreed, Kat. Well, I don't know about good, but they won't be as bad, is what I think.
No, right. So it's really, honestly, it's just really the Georgia and the LSU game. I'm not really worried about the OU game. I think by then they'll be beaten up a little bit, and they would have lost a few games, and we'll get a good idea of who their quarterback is. I know last year they were mentioning Jackson Arnold. I don't know if Jackson Arnold is how good he's going to be this year. Brian, can you give us any updates on Jackson Arnold? Is he going to be the guy this year? Is he going to kind of hold the reins this year? I'm not quite sure.
Mm-hmm. And Air Raid Mike was excited. Yeah. You think they will go undefeated against that schedule?
Yeah. Yeah, I know because OU has a really, really tough schedule as well. So
Jackson. He said Jackson Arnold is 100% the starter. So
cool.
I mean, so Georgia, Georgia's schedule.
Yep.
Because it's been talked about. Like, so the bye week before Alabama. Do you like having a bye week after like 3 games? I've seen some teams that have it like after 2 games.
I'm okay after the 4th or 5th game, to be honest with you. But with the way our seasons get set up, I mean, we get a rest before we have before Georgia, so it is what it is.
Right.
I
feel like it's too early.
With us looking, with us looking at Georgia's schedule, okay, what you go first, Jasine. What are you picking Georgia to go this year as far as their final record with this?
I mean, I'm a homer, so I would think 11-1. I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, if I was a Georgia fan, I feel like they'd be favored. The only game they might not be favored in, I would think, would be at Texas, just because of the hype. And, I'd have to pull up Texas's record, I guess, and check them out. But you look at that at Michigan, depending on what Michigan team we're really kind of getting out there with what they've lost and their transition as well. And obviously he's picking Oklahoma to win, but I don't know about that. I just feel like Texas could be undefeated going into the Georgia game. And then you look at the rest. What else scares Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas? Like, this is why Texas is picked to win the conference, because look at this schedule. I mean, where are your landmines? Yeah, I mean, what's your second toughest game after Georgia? It's got to be Michigan, I guess.
After Georgia, it's Michigan. Yeah, I don't think A&M. They're going to have a first year coach at Elko. I don't think Connor Weigman and them are going to match up really, really well with Texas. So I would say Georgia's going to be their loss. I think Georgia's going to be their only loss, and they make it to. That's why they're probably making this championship game.
Yeah, and this is why I don't. If I was going to pick Georgia to lose one, it's not going to be Ole Miss.
Not Ole Miss.
I just feel like Georgia is just too much for Ole Miss. So Ole Miss had a lot of confidence going into last year, and I feel like Georgia's just the kind of team that shuts them down. Ole Miss, I feel like if they caught Georgia in the first or second game, while maybe their defense is still gelling, maybe they have a chance. But later in the year, I feel like Georgia's going to walk over Ole Miss, Tennessee. Ending the season with UMass and Georgia Tech is probably great. So I don't fear Clemson for them either. So it's almost like if you want to pick them to win it, to lose a couple games, you almost have to, like at Texas and at Ole Miss, those are landmine games. But later on in the season, I just feel like Georgia's just a better team. So, yes, Jackson Dart going into his 7th year at Ole Miss. He is a gamer. I was talking to Ole Miss guy earlier today.
He's a strong guy. He's a gamer, but
they don't do well against Georgia. I mean, that's
you can't compare Jackson Dart and Carson Beck. Carson Beck is far more superior than Jackson Dart. So. I think Jackson Dart's going to take a lot of hits. Ole Miss's defense should be better based on what they did in the transfer portal, but Georgia's going to beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Right now,
I just don't feel like Georgia's going to go undefeated just because I feel like it's much harder this year. If they lost, I think you really at Alabama, Texas, at Ole Miss. Those are your landmine games. I just don't feel like they lose at Ole Miss. So if they lose 2 games, it's Alabama and Texas to me.
Yep.
They lose 1 game, it's probably Texas before it's Alabama, just to be honest. Yep. I think they both, the benefit of maybe playing them early in the year, that's great. But I feel like by the time they play Texas, by the time they play Ole Miss, those are just Georgia's usually gotten it all together. So he said he doesn't begin to. When he's on, he's on. Then he's going to get hurt at some point during the year. So you gotta watch how that plays out.
I feel like that's been the ongoing comments regarding Quinn Ewers is his health. He gets hurt pretty much every year. So I guess if he could stay healthy this full season and then having Arch Manning as a backup is a pretty good thing to have. So Texas should be in good hands. But yeah, it's a pretty good thing. Pretty good thing.
Yep. And while we're at it, we can just call up Ole Miss's while you're looking at that. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're going to be undefeated. They're going to be undefeated going to LSU. And then, LSU, it kind of makes the SEC honestly look like a very top heavy kind of conference this year. So, what's up, Bo?
What's going on, Bo? Appreciate you for jumping in.
No mention of your waterfall or anything
or your
like
creek
that.
Or his yacht.
Yes. Or his trips to Hawaii or other countries. So you do not.
What were you?
You do not.
I think Brian's just saying anything right about now.
Yeah, Brian. Brian been sipping on some moonshine. No, Brian.
Yeah, and we're not even going to pull up Florida's schedule because this is probably Napier's last year if I had to guess. So
yeah, Napier's getting fired halfway through the year, and we'll have everybody's schedule when it's time to do those. That's fine.
Right.
The worst of the Mannings. I'll give him credit for this, and maybe he's got whatever money he wants, so it doesn't really matter. But he could have very easily transferred out of this situation and decided to stay or two. I may or may not have had a drink or two. That makes more sense when you went with the Ole Miss losing to Florida one.
Yeah.
You could have told me almost anything else on the schedule, but Florida. So now watch, if they lose to Florida, Raj will give you a public apology. I will edit this to make sure I was not even on this episode. So
Herb, let me ask you this. Speaking of Florida, when do you think Florida will get back to the ways of their old?
Mike, my question for you is: if Florida calls you, will you take the job? What'd you say, Roger? I'm sorry. Your question for me.
When do you think we'll see Florida's of the old? Maybe back to 2020 Florida, back when they made it to the SEC championship game. When do you think Florida will be good again?
It's like they've fallen so far behind. I mean, just because they've fallen so far behind already. So it's like you see how the arms race is kind of going right now, and you never hear about them in recruiting. You hardly ever hear about them winning a key recruit. So we'll get talked about. They just threw the Hunker Bourbon bonus. They're on a Hunker Bourbon this summer too. I'm in for the Hunker Bourbon. So you got me there. Florida won't be back for at least 10 years, but they're beating Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's weird.
Very job with the Port. I appreciate that, Mike. I would say take the Florida job and get fired in 3 years and collect that money. I could see that, Raj. 10 years. It just seems like you see how it is once you fall behind, then once you hire the wrong coaches. I mean, and it's not getting easier. They're falling further behind, not just in the national race, but in the SEC. You know, it's just
especially recruiting. Like when you take a look at recruiting, like there's a lot of guys that don't want to stay in Florida, and if they do, they're not going to Florida. There a lot of them are going to Miami. To be honest with you. Miami and some of the transfers
Florida State starting to collect some.
Yep.
And Randy, that's you've definitely been watching longer than we have. We came in at like 94, so we know a little bit more of like Spurrier and Meyer, I guess, like that, and not as much as their historical record. But yeah, I think they're down for a while. Well, I think they're down for a while.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Raj, I had a kind of a goofy question for you to kind of bring back your top 5. This really should have been like one of the questions of death, but I wanted a random one for you.
Okay.
Your top 5 college football programs to watch after Bama.
Okay. And this is in no specific order.
Why is it always no specific order?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have any specific order. I'm going to say Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia.
Wait, you got to give some reasons why.
Oh, so Oregon number 1. Dylan Gabriel's supposed to have a huge year. A lot of people have picked Oregon to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. There's talks of Oregon. Obviously, they're trying to do what they can on the NIL realm. So they should be a good team from years to come. But this year specifically, Dan Lanning should have them maybe possibly winning the Big Ten this year if they can beat Ohio State. Number 2, Ohio State, for the same reason I just mentioned about Oregon. Obviously, they spent a lot of money on NIL stuff. They brought in a lot of players. They got one guy from Bama who we don't talk about anymore. They got Junkins from Ole Miss. They got another one of our quarterbacks, a 5-star quarterback we had who we don't discuss anymore. Apparently, Ohio State's supposed to be one of the teams to beat this year.
We just forget everybody, huh?
We forget everybody else. Georgia, for obvious reasons. Georgia's going to be possibly going to be playing the SEC championship game. They're going to be in the playoff. Not a lot to say about Georgia, but we know about Georgia. Colorado. A lot of people, including myself, want to see if Colorado can have, I guess, what we refer to as a bounce back year. Obviously, they won 4 last year. Is this going to be the year where they win at least 6 games and actually make a bowl game? We know they kind of loaded up on their offensive line. I don't know how good they're going to be there to protect Shedeur Sanders. This is going to be Shedeur and Travis Hunter's last year before they go off to the league. They're going to be a team to watch. Number 5. I'm trying to go outside of the SEC. That's the reason I'm doing this. Outside of the SEC,
while you're thinking of your number 5, the Colorado one is always fun because we had a Colorado guy on here, and they made the comments about being everybody's Super Bowl. Love them or hate them, they are must-watch TV.
They're must-watch.
I'm like tuning into the games, but and I know somebody will probably make comment in a minute like, oh, they hate them. Yeah, but you're watching them like to root against them. That still kind of puts their teams up. So that's why they're just always one of the most compelling teams in the conference or in college football.
Yep.
All right, give me number 5.
With number 5. We had our USC guest here last week, and that one's still on the mind. I'm going to say USC for the simple fact that I'm curious to see what they are after Caleb Williams. I know I just committed like the Bama sin. I'm curious to see how USC progresses on their offense after Caleb Williams. I'm also curious to see if USC has any type of defense this year. Based on what Mark said last week, they're supposed to have a much better defense. So I'll probably pay attention to a few of their games.
Yeah. Nice. An impromptu top 5. We got to bring that back for the season coming up. I see a bunch of comments coming in. Just getting lucky at home. Florida be like 3-6. Ole Miss coming in. Ole Miss looks past them. Depends on what Ole Miss is at that point. If they've survived, was that or after Georgia? I guess on yours. They play Georgia and then they get a bye week. So I don't know. I see Ole Miss being very, very prepared, especially if they get whooped by Georgia. I think they smoke them. Entertainment value here. I didn't really put a disclaimer on it, so I just kind of wanted to see.
Yeah, what my answers were based off more of entertainment, to be honest, especially when I put in Colorado. I remember I watched several Colorado games last year, so that's going to be more of an entertainment thing. But some of those teams that I mentioned, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, those are teams that could possibly play for a national championship this year as well. But Colorado and USC are not playing for a national championship. Just to throw that out there.
No. Unless you're playing college football, whatever we're calling it these days. To watch Air Force, I assume that means it's like locally you'll get all the games, because no offense to our Armed Forces brothers, but I can't imagine watching every Air Force game.
I can't. Do you ever watch any of the Army Navy game?
I don't. Unfortunately.
Yeah, my father-in-law has mentioned that we should watch it from time to time, but I always say I'm not sure. He's like, "Oh yeah, forget Bama. You're Bama. You only watch Bama." And I tell him I don't just watch Bama games, but obviously that is my priority for obvious reasons. Right. So I watch other games, but I don't know. Maybe that's our assignment this year. We got to watch the Army Navy game.
All right, watch it and do a live reaction to it. It's the only game on that.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. You didn't agree to all that? Wait a minute. With a little fur. So, yeah. If those of us, we do game-by-game breakdowns of the SEC. Mike will be doing one for Colorado this year. So, you definitely have to.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Mike will see if he agrees or disagrees. So, the Colorado guy, I was listening to his Kevin Borba, listening to his podcast and stuff about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I think so." And then he starts actually going through their schedule, and he's like, "Oh wow, this is gonna be a tough one." So
yeah,
everyone looks at Georgia boring, not sexy to talk about. Everyone says that, and they're not wrong. Yeah, but with boring comes a consistent number one ranking. So I think there's a difference between being boring and being overlooked. And when you said, like, I guess when you started your podcast and you're talking about nobody's talking about them, I took it as in a winning sense. I think everybody's talking about, everybody fears them, but you kind of already know what to expect.
We know what Georgia's going to bring to the table. We've seen it over the past several years, so there's not really much more to mention regarding them. They're number one. They're going to be ranked number one. We know what to expect from them.
Yeah, so that's the reason why we mentioned Colorado as the pick, because I don't know what to expect from them week to week. This could be a crazy year. Could they make a bowl? Could they lose every game? Like, we really don't know.
Yep.
And then you talk, so it'd be interesting. Lincoln Riley's never had a good defense. Yep. That was the consensus conversation last week too as well.
Yep.
And take off season, work on getting defense up. Yeah. And that's what our guy said last week too as well. So shout out to him. Where you can find Air Force. That's why I watch my Wyoming Cowboys. Lady Alpha, check it out. Have a good night.
Thank you, Lady Alpha. Appreciate you.
It's probably why I don't enjoy Colorado. Like I said, for me, like the drama did bring me in, and then now it's just like interesting to watch. They also put several of their games in very specific positions, like the Friday night game, to where I was like, well, this is all I'm going to be watching anyway. So it was well positioned, and the hype around it made me watch. So I don't expect great things from them. I think getting to a bowl would be a huge step forward for them, but they're still. It's an interesting story to me, one way or another. All right, Raj, we were kind of said we would kind of just, and we did last minute try to grab a Michigan guy, but I waited a little too late, so we will maybe talk with him in the future. But did want to talk a little bit about the sanctions, where you think that's heading?
So for those people who have been living, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No. You're good. You're good. What you were gonna say is way more better than me.
Way more better. For those people who have been living under a rock, maybe the past 48 hours, and even before that, even during the season. Obviously, Michigan has been hit with more sanctions. It turns out their head coach Moore, I found this funny. He deleted 52 text messages between him and Connor Stalions around the time when people started to find out about the sign stealing incidents.
Tell her she has to log in and date herself, Brian.
I'll tell her. Yeah, tell Tisha we said hi, but we would love for her to join us. So apparently, they use some sort of technology to kind of find out that he deleted the text messages. Michigan's hit with more sanctions. And I've told her, Herb and I have discussed this. Don't forget about the Netflix documentary Untold featuring Connor Stalions is dropping August 27th, right around the beginning of the season. That Netflix documentary is going to bring even more attention, more negative attention to Michigan. People who may not have paid attention to him now are going to watch this documentary and say, "Oh wow, they didn't just cheat; they cheated. That's what they're going to say on social media. They cheated." With all that being said, personally, I do feel like some more suspensions are going to come down. I guess the question that I have for you, and I want to get your opinion on everything, but I just don't know how this is going to affect last year. Is it going to come down to a situation where they have to vacate their national title? I don't know if any of that's going to happen. Personally, I don't think it's going to be that severe. I just think some more suspensions will be levied down. What do you think about the whole situation, and what does it say for Michigan right now?
It's weird to me. It's like after they got caught, they won the championship. So it's like what they were doing didn't actually affect the championship season. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of, I guess I look at it as like they earned the wins that particular year.
Right.
And they beat us, and I'm still upset about that. So yeah. I honestly just don't care anymore. We didn't make the championship game, so it's not like they vacate the wins and it does anything for us. So it's probably the selfish way to look at it, but I don't care. What this particular one is interesting to me is like, they asked Harbaugh about it. He's like, I wasn't aware of anything. And it's almost like we said they cheated. Yeah, but I feel like they'd already caught them by the time they did. So I don't think they knew about it. Like, I don't think they were doing it by the time that season actually rolled around. I feel like we're talking more about previous seasons, which didn't seem to help them anyway because they couldn't win a championship before they were doing it.
Right.
I feel like Harbaugh is going to escape the whole thing, which is another reason for him to go to the NFL and more. I mean, how about you sign your contract, you get on the field, and then all of a sudden you're about to lose your job and you're going to have to fall on your sword. And then the kids that are really going to get hit with it, like the future kids, like half the championship team left. So the people that are still there are like, now I get sanctioned for something I didn't even know about. So it just feels like all the wrong people are going to take the hit for this. And you just, Harbaugh, you knew about it. Like, come on. You just can't tell me that everyone had this whole network of stuff goes around them and you just didn't know. So
it kind of worked out in Harbaugh's favor because they ended up going undefeated, winning a national championship, and then this job opened up. I don't think the Chargers are going to win the Super Bowl next year, but he's going somewhere West Coast, and you have a quarterback. You already got a guy who could put a quarterback that can play in the league. So Harbaugh kind of walked into a good situation, but to your point, he knew that things were about to hit the fan, and he said, "I got to get out of here ASAP. What can I do?"
Our buddy Travis, they cheated. Yeah, Travis.
That's what they're gonna say. First of all, Travis, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it. But yeah, when that Netflix documentary comes out, social media is gonna light them up. Social media is gonna light up Michigan, and they're gonna call them all kinds of names and say they need to do this, they need to do that, and that's where I think more of the punishment is gonna be levied down. I don't know if it's gonna be probation, scholarship reductions, whatever the case may be, but that's obviously gonna affect them for recruiting going forward because some people are probably gonna want to stay away from the program. Right. Obviously, it sucks for Moore. I mean, he knew what he was doing. He knew what was going on, obviously, with the text messages. So they got caught. They got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and this is going to be a very, very interesting month for Michigan football to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm back to back. I like these two comments back to back. That's how I feel. If I was a player and I was on there and all that kind of stuff, like I wouldn't care. And then specifically, you mentioned the losing teams. Like, to me, it doesn't matter. They can do whatever
it
they want.
It doesn't do anything for Bama.
Yeah. So like, I honestly just don't care all that much, right? And then for this one, so I made this exact comment to a Michigan fan. They didn't take it very well, but I said Michigan won the title, and Saban retired like 2 days later, and everyone forgot the title. So it has not been the year of Michigan. They thought.
I agree 1,000%, and I remember you making the comment and to who it was made, but it was true, man. I mean, they won. Everybody's like, oh, okay, what's new? Saban retires, and then that was pretty much the storyline for the next few weeks. And now we're revisiting the whole Michigan situation. And like I said, August 27th, August 28th, leading up to football season, bad news for Michigan.
Yep. Do you feel bad for Moore at all in all this, or?
No, because he was texting. He knew what was going on. That's why I just mentioned it. He knew what they were doing. He just didn't think they would ever get caught. That's why.
What do you say if you're him and they're like, "Hey, we saw you deleted these 52 messages"? What are you like?
If it's me, I'm like, you know what? My son and Connor had a really good relationship. I don't know. I think my son was asking Connor for Roblox money. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
You're now 1 year old. Oh, I guess if you're more, it's whatever. Yeah, but
I mean, I don't know.
Ryan, I think he's going to be. I think they put specific language in the contract. They can fire him. No, and obviously they didn't need the language in the contract just for that, but they did put that extra in there too as well. And they're going to be looking for a scapegoat. But like I said, Harbaugh is still the main guy in charge there, and he picked a great time to get out of there. So can't blame him.
Harbaugh can't really be touched now. So, hey.
All right, Raj, we're coming towards the top of the hour. Did want to slide in again. Like we told you, this might be a random show tonight because we didn't have a specific thing. So I did want to give you, I know it's a little late, but you did your short on this one. So did want to give you a chance to kind of expound on it a little bit. Tua got paid. How did you feel about it as a Dolphins fan? Your initial reaction and then like kind of your day after. Oh, no, we'll give you this right here. Budget cheated you up. He did. I think even the most diehard Michigan fans got to admit, like, he left a mess and got out of there. So
he did. He knew what he was doing, and it sucks for their program, and everybody else is gonna have to take the heat for it.
Oh Lord, Travis, you're trying to get us all canceled, aren't you?
Oh Lord, golly, Travis.
Travis.
Travis
is a big Jacksonville Jaguars guy.
Jacksonville Jaguars. Shout out to Travis.
We've retweeted several of his articles out there. Even when they talk about Sunshine. So definitely a good guy, man. Good guy to have on air. We asked him to come on one time, but he told us he was too good for us or something.
Yeah.
No, he's got another show that was on at the same time. No.
Maybe when we get 10,000 subscribers, you'll come on our show, Travis.
No, Travis is a good guy, man. Very entertaining and definitely knows his stuff, man. I enjoy being on the show with him. So, all right, go ahead, Raj. Your Miami minute or however you want to say it.
That's fine. I was very, very happy for Tua. I was surprised at the amount that was given. I think it was 53.1 average annual salary. I thought he was going to land. My opinion, I thought he was going to land somewhere within the 45 to 47 range. But I'm happy for him. I'm happy he got paid. I'm not happy at what you just did. That's going to be in the blooper reel.
When Mike does his edit for the show, that's what he'll put on there.
What this comes down to now is Miami, this contract has to equate to wins, and not just regular season wins, but playoff wins.
Yeah.
Tua has everything, all the weapons in his arsenal. He's got the offensive weapons. Tyreek, Waddle. Okay, we have Odell. I don't know if we needed Odell. We had a really, really good run game last year with A-Chain and Mostert.
Yep.
You have to win the division. The reason you have to win the division is because we have to host a playoff game. We know how Miami plays in December, January, and they don't play well on the road. So with us winning division and hosting a playoff game, we need to win at least 1 or 2 playoff games this year to kind of make this contract justifiable. And then just progress from there. He has to prove his worth now. He had one really, really good, solid season. You have to stay healthy again this upcoming season, throw for 4,000 more yards, touchdowns, etc. Do all the individual stuff, but we got to get some playoff wins now. Come on now, fins up.
Well, so let me ask you this: you go through this season, you win you win the division and lose the first playoff game, or you don't even win the division, lose your first play, whatever. How's it? What do you immediately regret the contract? Or let's say Tua doesn't make it through the season, another injury. Like, is this one of the worst contracts? Like, where's your head at then?
I'm glad you threw that caveat in there. If Tua gets hurt, then yes, they might end up regret giving him the contract. But if he stays healthy and they don't win a playoff game, let's keep in mind Miami winning a playoff game isn't just because of the offense. We got to step over the defensive end too. So I don't think you would regret it there. But if he somehow gets hurt or just has a really, really bad season, then yes, the Fins organization will regret giving him that much money.
Yeah. So Randy, I was saving this for just a second because the hilarious part about it, I guess, is twofold. A, you're paying, and sorry, Travis, got to throw Trevor Lawrence in this, but you got 3 quarterbacks who making, $50 million plus, and they've won a total of 2 playoff games, I think, between them. Sorry, Raj, 2 is the goose egg.
No, I got you.
And with the Jordan Love thing, each one of them is waiting to. It's almost like you don't want to be the first one to sign because the next guy is just trying to leapfrog you. And for both of those 2 teams, they didn't pick up their 5th-year options early, right? So they ended up having to pay earlier and pay off based off of 1 year of production for both guys. So it's sorry, man. I had to throw them out there, man. Nothing but love. And I'll say that real quick. I was just giving you a hard time, man. I know that you offered before, man, and like I said, you're a good guy, man. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
and you're always welcome. So that. He said, "This is the year for Trevor." Yeah, I feel like Tua and Trevor Lawrence are in those categories. You have to see something from them after. But Jordan Love is interesting because they didn't let him play for so long, so it wasn't like his fault. He was standing behind a legend. So the other 2 guys, you guys have had the starting jobs, and now you got paid, man. You guys, you got to perform. Your teams.
And keep in mind, Jordan Love just came off his very first year as a full starter for all the games. And what helped Jordan Love's contract out is the fact that they went on the road for a playoff game, and not just any game. They came to AT&T Stadium and beat the Cowboys, I get it. I get it. The Cowboys the past 3 years have won 12 regular season games each year. Haven't really played too well in the playoffs, but
I like too well in the playoffs. They suck in the playoffs.
They beat the biggest brand in the NFL on the road. Right. So that kind of helped out his contract by winning that playoff game. That really essentially is just the Cowboys, but it's just them winning a playoff game is what really, really helped his contract out. So they said, look, he's young. He can get us to where we need to be. Let's pay him and build around him. Yeah. And I think
Lawrence was actually before
Josh Jacobs, by the way.
Correct? What?
Josh Jacobs is on the Packers too, so they got a good running. Yeah, they'll have receivers. They'll be all right. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying it's actually Lawrence was before the Tua and Love, but your point is valid. Like but that's how they look at the wide receiver market. Same thing, man. Every time because they talk about it with Brandon Ayuk. If they had signed him earlier, it'd been fine. Then the last couple wide receiver contracts kind of pushed him up. So he retired.
Speaking of Ayuk, it looks like
I disagree too. Like Lawrence still signed his first, man, and you went from hold of the division to not making it to also and I remember your article where you do defend his turnovers, but he's perceived to have a high turnover rate. I think Trevor Lawrence still has a lot to prove as well, man. I think you're an insider, so you kind of see it more rationally, but to people like me who aren't NFL guys, I look at both of them and think, man, you guys got stuff to prove. So, what'd you say, Raj? Go ahead.
I honestly forgot.
Sorry, I had to address that one.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
So no, and going back to Randy's point, that's I mean, it is the weirdest. I don't know if it's weird. I guess I can see where the players are coming from, but they don't negotiate just based on their own worth. They negotiate based on what I saw that other guy get. It's like Brandon Ayuk might ask for $26 million, and I think it was Amon St. Brown got 28 or whatever, and he's like, I think I want 28. I'm like, you were happy before at that number. A year ago, you'd have been great at that number. That's why you see some teams aggressively try to sign their guys early. So
yep.
All right, Raj, coming to the top of the hour. I only have a couple questions for you tonight, but I thought you might still enjoy these. All right, we're gonna play work, play, live, ditch.
Okay.
You ready for your names?
I'm ditching I'm ditching Herb. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, my name's actually on the list, so.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Guys, we live in 2 different states, so there's no way I can see what Herb did. But go ahead and give me the names, though. Give me the names.
Big Mike.
Okay.
Randy.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Herb.
God.
Stephen M.
Are you serious?
I am.
All right.
This is why it pays to either be the person who picks the judges or be the person who picks the questions.
All right. Since I've known you all my life, obviously.
And I'll give you 1 second. Travis, can't say, hey, I felt fine with my guy, and then, like, be pointing the finger at everybody else. Because then, like, the Miami guys are going to say, like, they're fine with Tua's, and they're not, they're against Loves and Lawrence. So that's why I got to call you a homer on that one. Like, I feel like all 3 of those guys still got something to prove, but I feel like Tua and Lawrence more than Love, because Love was the only one that was held back the whole time. So, sorry, man. With it.
All right, back to what Clay Love did.
It's not terrible.
All right, since I've known you for 43 years, I want to spend this time. I want to use this to kind of get to know everybody else. So I'm going to ditch Herb. I know him. I've known Herb. I've hung out with him. I've been there. Blah blah blah. I'm ditching Herb. I'm going to work with Randy.
Which, by the way, Randy said he knew he would make it if he made one of these. So I'm waiting for the "Hey, I've made it" comment on here.
Oh yeah, I'm working with Randy. I'm gonna pick his brain and just get as much knowledge as possible about podcasting or whatever the case is, wherever we're working at. I'm gonna pick Randy's brain so we can grow our brand. I'm going to. I've hung out with we hung out with Mike, so I'm gonna live with Mike. Live next to Mike. Mike's gonna be my neighbor. We're gonna talk sports. All kinds of sports. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna have our peanut butter whiskey, and then that means I'm hanging out with Stephen and Smith. We're gonna paint the town red, man.
You guys will be in a bar talking college football the entire night.
And I'm gonna say, you know what? One more shot.
I appreciate that, Randy. I appreciate that. Hold on. Raj picking Herb to ditch.
I'm ditching Herb, yeah.
Yeah. Sending a note already. All right, Raj. This one might be an easy one. This one might be a tough one. Okay.
All right.
Top 5 favorite Bama players all time.
This is a tough one. And again, I'm going to say, you already know, before I start my list, what am I going to say?
Tua?
No, what do I always say before I do a top 5?
Oh, this is in no particular order.
This is in no particular order. All right.
I'm actually texting Mike to see if he can edit that one for me, Cat. So, yeah.
So, my top 5, I'm going to go with Sean Alexander, Tua.
Mike was on it.
Golly, Sean Alexander.
You know he graduated from Alabama, right, and won the championship here, right, Brian?
I know.
Keep sipping on your whiskey, buddy. Keep sipping on your whiskey.
I'm Jalen Hurts is not in my top 5, although I do love Jalen Hurts.
And by the way, Brian, I'm definitely looking forward to your to meet. Well, I already met Brian once, but to meeting up before the game and after the game and stuff. All right, so I'm sorry, Roger. Sean Alexander.
I know. Tua, Sean Alexander, Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Like that.
Julio Jones, and maybe Devontae Smith.
Maybe Devontae Smith. What kind of top 5 is that? Yeah, but why is he a maybe? He's either in or he's out?
Devontae Smith. Oh, you know what? I really like Waddle. Oh man, I can't do more than 5 though. Shoot, Waddle. Oh,
you got to kick somebody out.
No, I'm gonna stick with my top 5.
Okay.
I really like Waddle. I wish Waddle hadn't got hurt that 1 year too, but I mean he was a beast. We won the national championship.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So I guess that's a question for next time though. If Waddle doesn't get hurt, does he win the Heisman? Does Devontae Smith still win the Heisman, or does another team?
I think Devontae would still. Devontae had
that's for another time. You don't get to answer right now.
Gotcha.
That's for another time. All right, we appreciate everybody getting us through this episode.
Oh yeah.
next week will be some previews. So we'll either pick a conference or we'll go a little more in depth. And then I think the last week, so we got like 3 more weeks. I think the week before is when we'll probably go in depth SEC, or maybe make that an all Alabama. You can tell we're still kind of making up as we go along. We appreciate y'all. You guys always help us survive episodes like this.
Yes.
Raj? Kat said, where's Terry on?
Terry did not make
the cut. On Derrick Henry, Raj. Yeah, they're just
Derrick. I could see Derrick Henry in the top 5, but I just remember have those memories of Sean Alexander back in those early 2000s, and we had he was awesome, man. Derrick Henry was awesome too. Obviously won the Heisman, so that's why the top 5 list is always so hard to do. There's so many people in there that I can put in there.
All right, folks. Everybody have a wonderful night. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe out there, and as always, roll tide.
Roll tide.